Hi everybody, Adam here with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Malone TopTier load bar kit for you guys' trailers. So we get a bunch of questions about if it's going to fit your guys' trailer, so let's go over what we need to hit when it comes to our side rails here. So these U-bolts here from the bottom of this portion of it and the top of this portion is going to be about 2 1/4 inches. So as long as your top bar is going to have the height of under 2 1/4 inches, we are going to be able to slide that U-bolt through, and that's going to fit perfectly. But another thing we need to think about, we don't have a whole lot of thread sticking out on the end here, but we are going to max these things out at about 3 1/2 inches. So make sure you don't have a height of 2 1/4 and a width of 3 1/2. So as long as your guys' trailer stays within those 2 measurements we just gave, we should be good. So this kit's going to be great for pretty much doubling the capacity of your guys' trailers. What you guys need to make sure of first before purchasing is that your guys' trailer width is between 4 and 5 feet. So this is going to be great for some of the recreational stuff you guys might be doing, whether it's kayaking, stand-up paddle boards, or some canoes, but also for you contractor guys, if you guys own a small business or something like that, and you guys are hauling a whole lot of lumber or something like that, but you still need to get your equipment to and from the destination. And usually when you have a lot of loads, I'd rather not have my equipment underneath of them or on top of them, just because I like to keep those two separate so nothing gets damaged. This way we can put either the lumber and stuff up here, or you can go ahead and put some of your equipment, whether it would be a ladder or just some longer conduit, something like that you guys need to get the job done. We're going to have a lot more space on our trailer to do so. So whether you guys are messing with some water sport gear, or if you guys are on the construction site needing some more space on your trailer, or if you guys are just going down to the farm and you have a bunch of stuff you guys want to put in, and you usually have maybe a four-wheeler or a motorcycle or something like that in the back, literally we can use these to add a second level. We can put the four-wheeler underneath of it because we have plenty of space, and then also we can go ahead and put all of our gear up top here, so you guys can bring a lot more people in your car because all your gear is back on your trailer, and you guys can have a good time. So the height from the base of our trailer to the bottom of our bar here is going to be about 54 inches. So if your guys' four-wheelers, dirt bikes, or whatever you guys have is below that 54 inches, you guys can go ahead and pull it right under, and we won't even hit our bar, so you guys can go ahead and store stuff underneath there while we have some stuff up top. The bar length is going to be about 65 inches long, which is going to be great for multiple different water sport gears. As you can see here, kayak, stand-up paddleboard. We could probably fit another stand-up paddleboard on top of that one as well. But the nice thing about this long bar for you guys that are on the construction site, it's going to be able to fit those standard 4x8 sheets of drywall, or even the plywood you guys may be carrying with you. Also, if you guys have some pipe too, if you guys are electricians or anything like that, we'll be able to span those all the way across and hold quite a bit. One thing we do need to make sure of is these bars do have a weight capacity of 250 pounds. So as long as we don't go over that, we should be good. I know there are a lot of different types of trailers out there, so we might have to do a little bit of modifications to make it fit properly, but it's not really too difficult. So let's go over the installation process so you guys can do it at home. So the first thing that we want to do is find a great spot to be able to mount our sidebars to the trailer. As you guys can see back there, I already figured out the spot back there, but I'm going to try to mimic that up front here. Another thing that we need to take into account is the spread of the 2 different bars. It's going to depend on what kind of kayak you guys have. First things first, we want to take one of our 4 curved pieces, and we want to make sure that it's going to be facing in. Then we're going to take our little bracket here, and we're going to use the top rail of our trailer to get this done. Kind of line it up, see what is going to work best. And one thing to note, there's going to be a oddly shaped little U-bolt here, and we want to make sure that the longer flat part is going to be on the top. Go ahead and kind of line it up. We do have holes to pick from. kind of just put it into place. Washer on both. And then our nylon lock nut. And then we can go ahead and take a 14mm socket. Make sure it is a deep well socket because we might be bottoming out on that thread. And we do want to make sure that we do them evenly, just so that bracket is nice and straight. And now you guys can go ahead and do that same exact thing for the other U-bolt. So now we can go ahead and take our big plate, and we're going to have two different holes. One's small, one's big. The bigger one's going to go up top, and depending on your guys' application, as you guys can see, we do have wood on the inside of our trailer here, and that's going to kind of constrict what we're going to be doing with these bottom holes. So just align it right to where we can drill through and we can be able to get to the back side of this hole. But then the top hole is pretty much self-explanatory. Grab a U-bolt, come in from the other side, hook it in, and do that same thing with the nuts. And now that this is in place, before we start drilling, I am going to cinch all these down and tighten them down just so this whole entire bar is going to be nice and aligned up. So then I know exactly where I'm going to be drilling because this plate won't be moving near as much. And all we're going to need for that is a deep well 14mm socket. Go ahead and tighten those down, but we want to make sure, especially with the U-bolts, that we want to tighten them down evenly so they are pulling in on that bar very, very evenly. Once it's starting to get tight, align your plate so it's nice and straight. Now we're going to go ahead and do the ones up top here. Same socket, same deal. So I do highly recommend grabbing a bit that's plenty smaller and working your way up, because if we're doing all this with one bit, we're probably going to dull the tip. So that is just my suggestion. But we're going to just go through the trailer here with our bit. So now we can go ahead and put our self-tapper through that hole that we just drilled. What I suggest is, before we drill the second hole, is that you go ahead and tap this in. It'll kind of line up that bracket more so where it's going to be completely secured down at. And that's just going to give us a little bit more accurate of a drill hole. So that's just for me. I like to do that just so I don't have to drill twice. I'm using a 10mm socket. So now we can go ahead and repeat that same exact process for the other hole. So now that this side is done, we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. So now we can go ahead and take our load bar. One thing we need to make sure of, there's going to be a hole, and we want that to be facing one of the outsides. So I'm going to have it facing towards you guys. You can either do it that way or the others. Then we're going to have our brackets here. We're going to put them down like that. First things first, we're going to go ahead and put one of our screws in that way, and then put a nut on it. Just hand tighten it for now. And then we can go ahead and kind of start lining everything up. And then we can take our second bolt, feed it through to the other side, put a nut on it, hand tight. And we're going to do the same exact thing for the other side. Now with our 14mm socket and wrench, we can go ahead and tighten these up. I think we need to just go ahead and kind of rotate this so it's not leaning to one side or the other, so we get it nice and tight. And also we want to push this bar up a little bit just to make sure it's going to be against that bracket. And the other one. We could do that same thing on the other side. So now we're going to go ahead and install our tie downs. And to do that, there's going to be one side with 4 different holes. That's going to be going towards the bar. Put the bolt through and take a nylon lock nut and do your best to kind of fish your finger in there and line it up and start threading it. And now to get that completely tight, we're going to take something that you guys have and we're going to kind of just jam it in there to kind of lock up that nut. And then use a 14 millimeter to tighten it up. Once we're done with that, we can go ahead and take our end cap, kind of put it in place, and it really does take a decent amount of force to put it in there. But then we're pretty much done with this side. So we're going to do that same exact thing for that side. And if you guys haven't already, we can go ahead and put the larger caps on our bent rods here. And now we're pretty much ready to go. So we went ahead and loaded up our kayaks and our stand-up paddleboard, and that's just about going to do it for our look at the Malone TopTier load bar kit for you guys' trailers.